It's virtual makeover day. Hello, I'm Noreen Burke and this is the Crafty Organizer. If you're returning, it is so nice to see you again. And if you're new to my channel, welcome. I love doing the organizing where I get to work either virtually or one-on-one with my viewers. It's so cool to go from that initial email and a couple of phone calls and then seeing their space and then finally getting to meet the person either on a Zoom or in person. But getting to work with you in this way is truly one of my favorite things to get to do. Today's virtual organizing home is all the way in the UK, and I really loved getting to work with this family. We had some challenges. This was a small room. As you can see, as soon as you open up the door, you're in a small space. It was 8 feet 10 inches by 8 feet 10 inches. And the way the door opens means that you're already losing a little bit of extra space because you obviously can't put anything to the right. As you open up the door, it'll block the door. And it also means that anything behind the door has to be really well thought out. So coming into the room a little bit, this is what you see directly in front of the door. They had one of the Billy bookcases and they also had an oversized chair that they used to watch television. Now this is the space that is right behind the door, and underneath this table is a radiator. So it's okay to have things in front of it, but the heat rises up against the wall, so we cannot use that wall space at all, which means we're even more limited on creative ways to find storage. The husband had already mounted this TV, which was a little bit difficult. We did not want to have to move that again, so I had to design around that TV to make sure that he wouldn't have to move it. So I was already intrigued to try and tackle the storage solutions in this room. I love when it's a little bit more difficult and challenging to see how creative I can get and see what suggestions I can come up with. So I was already sold when I was looking at this room, but then I saw this sweet little face. This was Marty McHam, and I knew I had to work with this client. Once we had some phone conversations, she had sent me over this amazing drawing, which really gave me the perfect view of her room. Not only did she give me the exact dimensions of where everything was inside of the room, but she had also taken measurements of all of the furniture pieces and described what they were, so I had a perfect idea. I love using this floor planner tool from IKEA. I have a whole tutorial on how to use that. Make sure to check it out in the description below. But if you're planning a space and you don't want to take the time to move a bunch of furniture around, this is a huge time saver. So this was the existing placement of the furniture, and I wanted to make sure that we gave her more space when you walk through the door, and we placed the furniture so it was more mindful when you're actually sitting down trying to use it. So here's what I started doing. I started moving everything around, and I left out the multiple playing that I did and just got right to the point. But by moving some of the pieces differently, I started working on a stair effect. So the lowest piece of furniture was going to be under the TV. I took a cabinet that she had for storage and put another smaller cabinet on top to create kind of a stacked hutch effect. This allowed me to move that Billy bookcase from the corner next to the one that she had over by her desk. And this freed up all that space where the chair was. We moved the chair closer to the corner and then put that small 2-drawer file cabinet next to it to act as a little end table. This gave us so much more floor space. Let's take a look at what it looks like in the 3D mode. So this is the new floor plan. And again, these aren't exact furniture pieces, but it gave her the perfect idea of how things were going to work. So we were able to fit in the TV. We have the stacked cabinet, but now the Billy bookcases are open next to the desk area so that she can get easy access to her files, her books, the craft supplies that she really wants to use. And then on the other side, when you're looking at the chair, it's a nice open area and the first thing you see when you open up the door. Since we could not use the wall above the radiator, we had to get creative. So since the wall to the immediate left of her was going to be not really noticed when you open up the door, we decided to try and use that space for either a pegboard, a bulletin board, but a place she could hang things. So while she's sitting at the desk, it's still honestly within that bullseye. If you haven't watched my videos before where I talk about bullseyes, I always suggest when you sit down, the things that you want the most should be within an arm's reach. Honestly, right here in this immediate area. And then the things that you might have to stand up for would be the next layer of things that you use, but not necessarily as often. The things that you have to either pull out or are high up are the things that you use the least often. Since the door is literally right at the end of her desk, she could easily reach over against that wall and still pull something off of a bulletin board or have access to anything that would be on that wall. But again, by moving all of these things over, this really would open up that floor space so much, which would just give that visual impact of having a larger space. So I sent this over to them. They loved the idea, and bless their hearts, they ran with it. I've gotten to work with a lot of you virtually so far, and I'm always so impressed with how enthusiastically you dive into these projects. Caroline was no different. She really broke down all of her supplies and mindfully stored them so she has single layer, easy access to everything. She was also very creative in making a lot of the storage bins. Now, she happened to have these little plastic sleeves left over, and I loved how she wrote these notes on the images she sent me, but she was able to use these plastic pockets to really break down her smaller supplies. And she was very mindful and diligent with labeling everything. She also remembered some of the videos I'd shown where you could add shelves. So anytime she found a dead space, she would add some more storage so that she could utilize every inch of her storage cabinets. This is where she really blew me away. She had so many Amazon boxes over from being at home. She would cut them back down or use shoe boxes to create this beautiful custom storage. This was a foam core divider that she made, and it has another layer underneath it for her watercolors. I was so impressed with this, but she took that further to create all of this custom storage that will fit inside of the cabinets that she has. And she just kept keeping all of those light categories with the light categories. Then she moved the same principle over to her DVDs. She got rid of all of the cases that weren't that important or special to her, and she was able to put the DVDs into sleeves and organize them in a way where she was able to free up so much space in this DVD case. Not only do you have all of the collections together, but she was able to free up an entire section of the DVD cabinet for any future things. Look at all of these containers she was able to get rid of. I keep saying that there are so many times when we buy a container and we put things in it. By reversing that way of thinking and getting all of the likes with the likes and really finding either the correct container or making a storage container to hold those specific things, you really do get to maximize the space and have every inch easily accessible for your supplies. This viewer did such a phenomenal job. I can't wait for you to see the after pictures, but first let's take a quick second to meet her.
Noreen, you had a real job with this room because we had the tiniest room with so many different uses. It needed to be a craft room, it needed to be accessible for when people needed to stay, it needed to be a book room, a DVD room. We've got a TV on the wall which my husband mounted, and it was such a hard job for him to do. The even thought of moving the TV on the wall was a no-go. So we had so many restrictions and so much furniture, but Noreen really kind of worked out what to do. I kind of trusted her. She came up with some amazing ideas of just how to use the room, move the furniture, stack things. And I think it was a combination of knowing where the furniture needed to go, how we needed to use the room so we could keep it open, get into it. And then I think on top of that, it was really useful breaking down all those categories. Storage wise, it's been amazing. I've not had to go out. I think the only thing I purchased was a couple of some plastic shelf hooks to make use of some spare spaces on the bookcases.
There is something about hearing that she didn't have to buy anything that just gives me so much pride and satisfaction. I genuinely love finding ways to utilize what you have at home already or creatively adapting what you have to fit your needs. So before we go through the whole video tour, let me show you some quick before and after pictures. So this is what you saw when you walked into Caroline's room. I can absolutely relate to this. I have had my rooms look like this multiple times. It ends up becoming overwhelming, so you just throw things in. But look at it now. As soon as you walk in, the first thing you actually notice is that beautiful teal wall and that big, beautiful picture window. The floor had collected some things that they just didn't have a storage space for. But now the floor is wide open, and look at how much bigger this space looks just by moving a little bit of that furniture. The corner behind the chair was cluttered, and it was difficult to get into that corner because it was such a small, narrow space between the wall and the chair. Now the chair seems perfect against that corner, and that little chest of drawers is the perfect place for a lamp, your snack, and a drink when you are watching a movie. This desk area was really difficult for her to use because the furniture piece that was next to the bookcase was deeper than it was, so to fit a chair in there meant you were always bumping your elbow. Now, by putting the two Billy bookcases there, there's plenty of room for a chair, and it gives her easy access to all those things on the shelf. So here's a video of walking in the room. I am genuinely thrilled with everything they did. I'm so happy with the way this looks, and her husband was over the moon that he did not have to move this TV. We were able to put all of the furniture in here in a way that, yes, it is a little bit crowded, but since they have to have these pieces in there, we may as well fit them in a way that gives her access to everything, including above the top. Why not use that storage space there? But now all of her craft supplies are right at the table height, so when she is sitting at that desk, she can easily access her craft items, and it's easy to put away. All of these things that she had created pockets for easily fit inside this custom-made box that she has. These were the brackets that she was able to purchase to create these little shelves for additional craft supplies. She was very mindful and took every bit of advice I had about keeping likes with the likes. She truly did a spectacular job. I could not be more proud of her. Now, keeping with that bullseye idea, down below where it's not as easy for her to get to are her file folders. This is where she keeps her bills, her important documents, the things that she needs to go through once or twice a month, but not on a continual basis. She also utilized immediately under her desk for projects that were in progress. And I love that she was able to fit in the little animal holders so that her pets can still be with her and enjoy the space as well. The other thing that I thought was really smart, because there were a couple of inches left in between, why not use those open spaces for larger items like duffel bags, canvases, some larger craft items? Use every square inch when you can, but in this instance, by spacing out the furniture evenly, it didn't feel so crowded. They really did a spectacular job. This is easily a space where she could be working at the little craft table and her husband could be in the chair either playing a game or watching a movie. They could still be together in this space, but not feel like they're crowding the other one out. The other thing I was thrilled about is she was able to hang these things on the wall. So this was a fabric file holder, and this is perfect because she can just open the door, drop things in the appropriate file, and deal with it later. The other thing we got to do was she loved this Chinese wall hanger, and with water she can paint, calligraphy, make notes, and as it evaporates, it disappears. It's a really cool thing, and she's always wanted it up. It just gives her a few minutes of tranquility, and then it diminishes for her to recreate again. They were also able to use the back of the door to hang a small ironing board for when she is doing sewing projects. If you've watched me before, you know I am always suggesting take your time. Take this in small bites. Do not push yourself to go in one fast weekend. Caroline and I have been working together on this since October. We would go back and forth, and then we would go a little while without chatting, and then go back and forth. There were so many things that we both went through over the last 6 months that it was so exciting to see the progress every time I would get to talk to her again. So I always hold my breath when I get to finally see the big reveal, because I'm nervous that they're not going to like the suggestions that I had, or maybe the things that I was wanting them to do became overwhelming. So I am always excited to hear what they think and how it worked out for them. So let's hear in her own words how she felt about this project.
I am a naturally messy person, so I'm terrible for not putting things away, but I think the biggest change is having somewhere for everything to go. So when I need to tidy up, I can put things away. Everything has a place, and I think that's the problem we had in this room, as well as probably every room in the house, is we've got so many things that don't have a home, where they just get moved from one room to another, or one side of a room to the other side. So literally finding a spot for everything has been, seems so simple, but it's been a game changer, and I'm so happy with how it's turned out. I'm so excited that I can actually finish a lot of unfinished projects, and I just can't wait to continue using this room.
I am just like Caroline. When I am crafting, I am a messy person. I will pull out things. I'll open lids, pull out my glue, get my glue gun, get my paints, get my ribbon, pull out craft paper, change my mind, set it on top of the box lid. It looks like complete chaos when I'm done creating. I'm not thinking about staying neat and tidy when I'm creating. I'm thinking about the project in front of me. And I think so many of us create that way. We're not thinking about, oh, I've used my paint, now let me put it away. Oh, let me at least put my paint away while I'm using my paper. No, we're in the moment and just letting those creative juices flow. But the trick is if we've created homes that are easy to access, it makes that cleanup so much easier. And if we do have that little bit of thought about making it display nicely, it gives us so much more energy and more motivation to be in that space. I know Pinterest is a wealth of ideas for those big, beautiful places, but sometimes the reality is we have to kind of work within the parameters of what's available to us. And I love seeing these before and afters with real rooms, with real supplies, and real interest. So I am over the moon excited for what Caroline was able to do. I'm so excited that she and her husband are using this space and able to enjoy it. Caroline made so many of those cardboard organizers. She was very mindful about the space that she had on shelves, the space that she had in cabinets, the height, and what it needed to hold. They spent a lot of time really breaking down the categories. And at one point she told me they were just being ruthless at getting rid of things that they were holding on to unnecessarily. These really are some of the harder truths when you are organizing a space, is being honest with what you're keeping and why. And if you are keeping it, finding a way to store it so that it's mindfully with other likes, so that when you put it away, you only have to pull out one box to get to all of those supplies. They did such a great job. I really am so proud of the way that they broke down their categories and made everything super easy to access. Let me know in the comments below, what was one of your favorite ideas out of this video? And can you relate to a room like this? If so, I'd love to hear about your spaces, whether you're currently trying to tackle it or if you've already come up with solutions. Leave all of that information in the comments below. I love reading about them and sharing the ideas if you've come up with something that someone else could benefit with. This video was made possible with the support of my patrons. If you are interested in this, please check that out in the description below. But my patrons are allowing me to not only do these YouTube videos, but provide this virtual organizing at no cost to my viewers. So I love getting to supply this, but I couldn't do it without my patrons. So thank you so much. If you did like today's video, if you could give it a like and click that subscribe button, this will let you know when my videos do post again, and it helps me get just a little bit closer to my goal. I am desperately trying to hit 100,000 viewers by June. I am getting closer and closer, and I'm going to be doing a big giveaway when I do get there. So if you haven't already hit that subscribe button, please take a second to do so. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you guys in just a few days. Bye.